Brand new Star Trek fan fiction. Please comment at the end. Captain's Log 3425.5. The Enterprise has delivered a package of scientific equipment to the surface of an M-class planet Torin to aid the Starfleet science crew in the study of an anomaly discovered buried inside an ancient pyramid. Spock, Uhura, and Sulu assisted with the transfer, and after 3 days on the planet, beamed back to assume their regular duties. Captain Kirk was called to the bridge when an alert was received from the crew on the planet below. As the doors to the turbolift opened, Kirk stepped through as Uhura stood and struck him in the back with a double-fisted blow, shoving Kirk down the steps where he landed on his face. "What are you doing?" Scott yelled from the engineering station and jumped the rail to check on Kirk. Uhura scrambled down the steps and jumped on Kirk, flipping him over like a high school wrestler. She straddled him, raised her arms, clasping her hands together, ready to strike Kirk in the face. "No, you don't," Scott yelled, shoving Uhura off Kirk. Sulu asked, "Do you need help?" looking down at the scuffle. Kirk sat up and wiped the blood off his lower lip. "If you don't mind," Kirk replied. Sulu slid out of his chair and put Kirk in a headlock, attempting to strangle him. Kirk's eyes bugged out of his head as he tried to break free, but he was no match for Sulu as he tightened his grip. Scott stood up, pulled his phaser, and shot Sulu in the head. The phaser was set to stun, so Sulu let go his death grip and slumped back against his chair. "Are you all right, Captain?" Scott asked. Kirk took a hold of the navigator station and used it to help him up. "What's going on?" Kirk asked, looking around the bridge. The turbo lift opened, and Dr. McCoy stepped onto the bridge, holding a pad in his hand. "Captain, we have a problem," McCoy said, taking in the scene. "What's going on?" McCoy asked. "Watch out for Uhura. She and Sulu both attacked me," Kirk replied. By this time, Uhura was standing next to Spock, who was sitting at his science station. "I have bad news," McCoy said aloud. "Sulu, Uhura, and Spock were all affected by the transporter on the last beam up. Somehow, they all report a significant gene mutation that regulates aggression." "No shit," Kirk replied. "I think my rib's broken. Why did they attack me?" McCoy turned to Uhura and Spock. "Why did you attack the captain?" McCoy asked. Uhura replied, "I don't know. Seemed like the right thing to do at the time." "And you, Spock?" "I did not attack the captain." "Not yet," Spock replied. Kirk stepped up to the captain's chair and pressed the call button. "Security to the bridge. Immediately," Kirk said. "Spock, Uhura, you need to report to sickbay." "No, Captain, I will not," Spock replied. "None of us will. And I think you will find, Doctor, that the transporter had nothing to do with our transformation." "Then what in the blazes is wrong with you?" McCoy asked. "Nothing is wrong with any of us. We have simply changed our outlook on life and perspective. Everyone on board the Enterprise will need to beam down to the planet as soon as possible." "Why do you need to clock me in the head?" Kirk asked. "We knew you wouldn't agree to our plan," Spock replied. McCoy asked, "What is on the planet that is so important that we all need to beam down?" "You will find out when you get there," Spock replied. "Did you think this out?" Kirk asked. "How would you get 420 crew to beam down to the planet?" "Easy," Spock replied with a smile. "I have set a photon torpedo to detonate on board in 3 hours. That torpedo will set off others and cause a chain reaction that will destroy the ship." "I don't think anyone will want to be on board when that occurs," Spock replied. "I was going to make an announcement once you were dead." Kirk looked to Scott. "Can he do that?" "If anyone can, Spock can," Scott replied. "Look into it and do what you can do to stop it," Kirk snapped. "Aye, Captain," Scott said, and turned back to his station. "Don't bother," Spock said. "I deactivated the failsafe and entered a password only I know that will allow any access to the programming." "Spock is right," Scott said. "I can't gain access to the weapon system at all. I'm locked out and the password has been changed. I do detect a rise in the temperature in the torpedo bay. I don't think he's joking." "Vulcans don't joke," Spock replied. I would advise you make an announcement to the crew and start the transfer. By my calculations, we can get everyone to the planet's surface, but there won't be any time to spare. Every minute we debate is a minute lost. And crew, Uhura said. What will happen to my crew once they beam down? Kirk asked. I have no desire to explain, Spock replied, and there is nothing you can do. Time is not a luxury for you. McCoy, at his wits, said, Do it, Jim, before it's too late. Save your crew. Save them for what? Kirk asked. We may still be sending them to die. Maybe the Enterprise blowing up would be more humane. If you only knew, Sulu said, with a menacing grin, now sitting behind the navigator station. If you only knew. Check out this link right here to my playlist of all of my Star Trek fan fiction. I have like 25 of them now, and you just want to go bing, 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 and watch every single one of them on your big screen TV and subscribe, and I do appreciate it. Thanks for being here.